Hello, dear class 5 students. Welcome back to our science class. Today we'll start a new lesson, lesson 9, and the name of the lesson would be Shadows and Eclipses. So you can all turn to page 83. Now, dear students, after studying this lesson, we will learn about different objects. We will we'll discuss about shadows, okay, and the different types of shadows, parts of shadows, as well as we'll discuss about eclipse. So let's get started. Now, students, this is our eye, right? Now, we should always appreciate the gift of sight. Without our eye, we will not be able to enjoy the beautiful nature, right? Without this eye, we will not be able to learn or watch movies, watch our favorite TV shows, right? So we should be appreciative of the gift of the sight that God has blessed us. Now, students, we always we always sympathize our friends who are not able to see, right? So, dear students, now imagine we are able to see beautiful nature because of our eye. But students, imagine if there is no light, we will not be able to see anything, right? Now, because of our eye, we can say that this is a beautiful tree here. We can say these are the plants, clouds, sky, right? But if there is no light, it will be like this. Everything will be blank. Now you can just close your eyes and imagine everything is dark, right? So without light, nothing would be visible. Let's say at night when there is no current, when the sun set, nothing is visible, right? So we need light. And light can be in different forms. Now, this is a candle, this is a torchlight, right? So if there is no current, we use torchlight, we use candles in order to see objects. So students, light helps us to see everything around us. Okay? Light helps us to see everything around us. Now, dear students, there are two different objects that you have to learn. That is luminous object and non-luminous object. Now, when I say luminous object, these are objects which gives out their own light. Okay? Let's say, example, the sun. The sun gives out its own light. And we have all discussed in our lower class, in our previous chapter, the importance of the energy that we get from the sun. Right? Now, when we say non-luminous object, these are objects which do not give out their own light. Okay? These are objects which do not give out their own light. Now, for this example, the best example is moon. Okay? Moon. Moon is a non-luminous object. So students, now from the first part of this chapter, we have learned the importance of light. Though we may not be blind, but without light, nothing would be visible. So we need light. And we have discussed the difference between the luminous object and non-luminous object. Now, dear students, we will learn these 3 new words, okay? These 3 new words. So let's start, okay? Let's take this one as an activity and let's learn these 3 words. And I will explain. I will give you example for all these 3 words, okay? So the first one here is transparent, okay? Transparent. The second one here is translucent. And the third is an opaque bodies. Opaque bodies. Now, whatever object that is around us, it can be a transparent, it can be a translucent, or it can be an opaque. Okay? Now, dear students, let us start with transparent, okay? Let us learn one by one. So when we say transparent, the best example is a clear window glass. You can have a look. It is a clear window glass, right? Now when we say transparent, it is an object where we can see things clearly. Now from here we know what is there on the other side, right? On the other side we can see, we can name all the objects present because this is transparent. Now transparent objects are those where light passes through them. Light falls on them completely. Okay? Light falls on this transparent object completely. That's why we are able to see clearly. So apart from this window glass, students, are you thinking of any other example? It can be glasses as well, right? It can be spectacles, right? It can be a clear water. So students, these are examples of transparent object. And let me repeat, because this is very important. Transparent objects are those where light falls on them completely, where light passes through them completely. And transparent objects are those where we can see objects clearly. Okay? So I'm sure you are clear with transparent, right? The word transparent. Okay? So now, are you ready for the next, that is translucent? Okay? Translucent. So, you can have a look at this. I've given an example. Now, you are able to see them, right? Yes. We know there is a lady here. And from this window, we know what is there outside, but it is not clear, right? It is not clear like the transparent bodies that we studied. In a transparent body, we are able to see things clearly on the other side. But when we see this translucent, yes, we are able to see, but it is not clear. Okay? Now you can have a look here. So now we know there is a lady, but it is not clear because light partially passes through them. Okay, light does not fall on them completely like transparent body. Yes, light falls on them, but partially. Okay, so best example would be a frosted glass. Okay, even for this, let's take example a glass, but this time it's not a clear glass, but it is a frosted glass. Okay, another example I have given here, you can see. We can see the objects, but it will not be clear. Okay, so now we have already learned transparent bodies, translucent body. So I'm sure you are clear with translucent body. So let me repeat again for translucent bodies. Translucent bodies are those bodies, or they are those objects where we can see objects, but it is not clear. Light does not fall completely. Light passes through them partially. Okay? Now, the third, it is an opaque object. Opaque object. So let us, for activity, let us spell this together, okay? O-P-A-Q-U-E. Opaque objects, or you can say opaque bodies. Now, are you curious? Do you want to know what is inside? What is there on the other side? I'm curious, and I'm sure you want to know what is there inside. But we are not able to see, right? Why? Because here we can see wooden window, wooden doors. And it does not allow us to see what is there on the other side, right? So this is not like transparent. This is not like translucent. Then what is this? It is an opaque object. Now, opaque objects are those which does not allow light to pass through them. Okay? In these opaque objects, we will not be able to see what is on the other side. Okay? So students, we have learned about the three bodies, that is transparent bodies, translucent bodies, and opaque bodies. So students, I'm sure you can give more example, right? You are thinking of more examples. So at home, you can write down, okay? If you see objects around you, let's say if you see a football, then just write about it. Whether football is a transparent, translucent, or an opaque. Okay? Now, just things around you. You can try with your books. Book, it is a transparent, translucent, or opaque. Now, book, football, these are all opaque objects, right? Because if I placed football in front of me, I will not be able to see on the other side, right? Because light does not pass through football, because it is an opaque object. And if I place a book in front of me, I will not be able to see what is on the other side, because light does not pass through that. Okay? So we are all clear with a transparent object or transparent bodies, translucent bodies, and opaque bodies. So now the next topic that we are going to learn is very exciting. It's very interesting. It's about shadow. Okay? Shadow. So you can have a look at this picture. So students, now you are all familiar with shadow, right? But do you exactly know how these shadows are formed? Or do you know the details about this shadow? Don't worry, we will discuss in this chapter about how shadows are formed, how many parts of shadows are there, okay? Now, dear students, light travels in a straight line. Light travels straight line like this, okay? Light travels in a straight line. So when an object, when an object blocks the light which is traveling in a straight line, a shadow is formed. Now let me repeat it. When an object blocks the light which is traveling in a straight line, a shadow is formed. But did you notice shadows also? Some shadows are very dark, right? Now some shadows are very light. So dear students, if the light, the light which is traveling in a straight line is blocked is blocked by an opaque object, then the dark shadow is formed. Okay, now let me repeat it. If an opaque object block the light which is traveling in a straight line, then a dark shadow is formed like this. Okay, but if a translucent object, translucent object are those objects where you can see but not clear, right? So when a translucent object blocks the light which is traveling in a straight line, then you will get to see a light shadow. Okay? Now then, what about a transparent object? If a transparent object blocks the light which is traveling in a straight line, a shadow, you will not see a shadow. Shadow will not be formed. Okay? So shadow will be formed only when an opaque object blocks the light traveling in a straight line, or a translucent object blocks the light which is traveling in a straight line. And one thing you have to know about this shadow is shadow are always formed opposite. They are always formed opposite to the direction of the light or the source of light. Okay? So students, now we will discuss about the parts of shadow. Okay? The parts of shadow. So the first one here is umbra. Okay? Umbra. Are you familiar? It's a new thing, right? But we will learn here in this chapter, okay? Umbra. And the second part of the shadow is penumbra. Penumbra. Okay? So now, students, I have given an example here. We have a torchlight here, right? And then I've placed a ball. Now you all know a ball is an opaque object, right? So now, see, this is a torchlight, and in between we have placed an opaque object. So a shadow will be formed, right? A shadow will be formed. If an opaque object blocks the light which is traveling in a straight line, then a shadow is formed, right? So we can see the shadow here. But did you notice here? The central part of this shadow is dark, right? So this central part of the shadow is known as umbra. Okay? Umbra. U-M-B-R-A. And the light shaded, this one. The light shaded, you can see here, right? The light shaded part of the shadow is called penumbra. Okay? Penumbra. The light shaded part of the shadow, okay, is penumbra. So now, if you look at the shadow properly, closely, you would see the difference in their color. So the central part, which is dark, is called umbra. Okay, umbra. And the light shaded part of the shadow is called penumbra. So dear students, in this chapter, in the first part of this chapter, we have learned about the parts of shadow. We have discussed about how shadows are formed. We have discussed about the three important subjects, the three important body, transparent, translucent, and opaque. And we have discussed the importance of light. Now, in the next part of this chapter, we will discuss about eclipse. So thank you, students. See you all in the next class.